on. And okay, we're on. So, hey everybody, how you doing? Rich the Architect back here for another episode. Today I have Brandon Walker from House of Aperture on. So, Brandon, why don't you just start this off with a little bit of an introduction yourself, you know, what you do, how you got to where you're at in life, just go. So
So I am a Philadelphia born and bred young man. I've lived in Philly for the last 34 years. I actually have been photographing since I was in 6th grade. My mother let me borrow her Nikon F1 film camera, and from there I started to basically take pictures of everything. I would give it to my mom, and she would give me, my little allowance to actually go get the film developed. And that's pretty much how my photographic journey started. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can get a picture. This is actually me, if you can see it, in 6th grade.
Okay.
Mom's camera. And that's how I'm, doing this. And from there, I kept my photographic career going. Once I graduated from college, I actually started to get into Latin dance. And from that time, my best friend, he actually got me a brand new camera for my birthday. And so I started photographing this new journey that I started going on to as far as, training and performing and that sort of thing. And from there, some people in the dance community, they actually started hiring me for events to, shoot their events. And from there, people started to hire me to do different things like, weddings and corporate events and that sort of thing. So that's pretty much how my business grew. And I did weddings primarily for about almost 6-7 years. I worked with several wedding companies in the city. I started doing my own weddings. Don't get me wrong, I love weddings. I truly do. But from a business perspective, after a while, you start to understand that it's not as fulfilling as you'd like it to be. I always was mindset that, I want to help people. And yes, capturing the most important day of people's lives is absolutely amazing. And I never, ever will take that for granted. But I wanted to try and do something to help people in a better mindset and a better capability than what I was doing with weddings. And so I started getting into doing, business work and working specifically with businesses and corporations and that sort of thing, small businesses and entrepreneurs. And I started to see how video not only helped my business grow, but it helped several other businesses that I was working with grow as well. And so that's where I basically put the focus of my business, is working with business owners, entrepreneurs, basically creating content and assets for them that they can use to basically gain more exposure to a new clientele, save time with their business and streamline their practices and their day-to-day operations, and be more profitable. And I've been basically using that as the core of what my business does for the last 3-4 years, and it's been going really, really well. I've helped several local businesses grow. There's this one person, Laura Eaton. She's owner of Old City Collective here in Old City, Philly, which is where I live currently. She reached out to me. She was trying to tap into a new market as far as working with medium to large corporations that needed a venue for basically for meetings for their employees. And she also wanted to reach out to couples that were getting married and didn't necessarily want to work with a venue that houses 300 or 400 people. They want to have more of a smaller ceremony, smaller reception and that sort of thing. So I created what's known as a video business card for her. And once I created that asset for her, I actually helped her implement it on every single last one of the platforms that she's on. So she's on Craigslist, on Airbnb. I reformatted it for her website. I reformatted it for her Instagram. I reformatted it for her email signature. I basically helped her put this one asset on every single last one of her marketing platforms. And it did so well from all those eyes being on that one specific asset that she was actually able to open a second venue, not even a couple blocks away, right on, Second and Market, which is prime real estate in Philly. If, anybody's familiar with, real estate. That's just one example of some of the things that I've been able to do with my business and me being able to help people in a bigger capability than I've been able to before. And I love it. It's really something that I've been wanting to do all my life. And now that I'm able to do it in this capability, I'm appreciating the opportunity. So
when you said an asset, you said like that was a video, or that was then reconfigured for whatever platform it was on?
Right. So what a lot of people don't understand is that you can't just post something on multiple platforms and have it look the exact same and have it look the best that it can look. With a lot of these platforms, Facebook, Instagram, they all have their own specific formatting guidelines and rules for content that you put on there to look its absolute best. You have people uploading to these platforms millions of times every single day. So in order for these platforms to, save hard drive space essentially on their networks, they have to basically reformat all of these videos to a specific specific frame size, and people are privy to what those settings are. And so I've researched these settings for every single last platform, and once I create this one asset, I've reformatted for every single last one of these platforms as well. So that's one thing that somebody that's basically a CEO or a business owner, or if they're a marketing department for a company, that's one less thing that they have to worry about to make sure that this one asset looks the best wherever it goes.
Right. Now, do you deal with then the kind of, I'll say, the content in the content, meaning like if you have a video and it's going to work in a certain way for Facebook, but then that same message is going to be different for LinkedIn. It's going to be different for Craigslist, or whatever. So do you kind of modify the content, like, whatever's being saying in the video or the copy the graphics or whatever?
More often than not, usually it's the same asset that I use for all the platforms. But if it has to be, modified for whatever reason, if, like I said, if LinkedIn has to have something specifically said to reach that specific audience that might be slightly different than what's on Facebook, then in the production phase, then we'll make sure that we get that footage and those talking points that we need. So that way it can be edited in post and make sure that, we have a version specifically for Facebook, we have a version specifically for LinkedIn, and both of those pieces of content have a message that's going specifically to those audiences.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Because I will say, as a business owner, it's like I constantly am always thinking like, okay, well, I want to post this information, and I don't want to just necessarily post, like, let's say I'm posting pictures of a house that, completed project, right? Or a video of it or whatever. But, I'm going to put it on Facebook, but I personally don't like to be like, just hit share, like do the lazy posting, like, oh, I'm going to post it, but I wanted to post to Instagram at the same time. And like, because you can do that with a lot of these platforms, but I'm like, no, it needs to look a little bit different for this different, kind of what you were saying earlier, but also, and I'm probably a little lazy in terms, like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I want whatever I write to be different for LinkedIn, for Facebook or that. And, some days, maybe I will go a little bit in there and do that. Some other days I'm just like, just get it out.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's funny that you bring that up, because I think especially with business owners, one thing that I've noticed working with business owners for the last couple of years is that they get so wrapped up in basically the tiny little details that they miss what's most important and the main important message that they need to get out to their potential audiences. And at the end of the day, especially in 2020, having a more personal message is more important to potential buyers and potential customers than just spewing facts for 2, 3, 4 minutes.
Yeah.
You can kind of tell when a corporate video is a corporate video, right? The most success that I've had working with different business owners is when they put in more of a personal touch with their projects. With the most recent, I actually got hired not to do a video business card, but a sort of commercial for the same person that owned that venue. When she decided to open that second one, she was like, okay, this specific venue is more for, it's geared towards women. Men are welcome as well, but it's more geared towards women. And she wanted to do a co-networking space, an event venue space, and she wanted to gear towards women that were entrepreneurs and small business owners. And she wanted to have it as personal as possible with a humor aspect of it. So I don't know if you've ever seen the commercials for what do you call that thing? The Squatty Potty. Have you ever seen? Yeah, you've never seen that. So basically, it's how can I explain this? It's pretty much a plastic stool that people use when they go to the bathroom, and basically what it does is it adjusts your body position to make going to the bathroom easier. Yeah. And basically, this company, the Harmon Brothers, they created this commercial where they have this medieval guy talking to this unicorn that's like, it's a crazy commercial, but it's funny, and they did it in a way that genuinely makes you laugh. It's just hilarious, and she wanted to do something on those lines. So we actually did this commercial, and one of the things that happened, we had these two people that are actually members of the co-working space, and we basically had them in their pajamas on the couch, basically eating eating Cinnamon Toast Crunch and pouring it on the floor. And one woman, she actually had the champagne bottle that she was acting like she was drinking out. It was actually champagne, and she was drinking out the champagne bottle, and she tilted up like this. And we were in the middle of doing a take. She takes the bottle from her face, and the bottle just sprays all over the place. And we're all looking at each other like, wait, did this just happen? And I'm just thinking to myself, no, this has to go into the final video. This is hilarious. Everything that we have going on right now. You guys in your pajamas, champagne spraying all over the place. It was completely off the cuff. It was hilarious. And we're just thinking to ourselves, this is what we're looking for. This is what people are going to be attracted to, you know? And so I really try to bring that out of business owners and bring this out of the different people that I work with. Not everybody obviously is going to be on that same level. They're not going to be that cool, but I specifically work with people and figure out ways to not only bring out their message, but also bring out that level of comfort. Because again, that's what people are attracted to. People are attracted to personalities and who you are as a person. They're going to do business with you as a person before they actually do business with your business. If they can't see themselves gelling with who you are, then it's a very, very good chance that they're not actually going to spend money on you or spend money on whatever it is that you're offering, whether it's a product or a service. So I really do try and hone in on that during the initial production meeting with potential clients, to try and figure out who they are as a person and how we can bring that out on film. Yeah, and it's interesting too, because it's like you're bringing out the uniqueness of each person, and you've probably had conversations. I've had conversations in like networking environments or whatnot, where somebody's like, well, I'm just a lawyer or a insurance agent or whatever, and you may see like stuff that they post, and it'll be kind of very, let's call it stereotypical stuff, like, well, or if I'm an architect, I can look at other architects' pages and they're just posting pictures of their finished projects, just pretty pictures and all this, house, whatever, and all that different stuff. But it's everybody, and some people may kind of be like, well, what else am I supposed to post? They're kind of overthinking like what they're going to put. They think that they need to just post that in order to be successful. And I'm sure you could find examples where people, and companies are successful by posting that in the past, but the real differentiator is who you are. All of us are unique,
you know, we've all, you know, what I experience in life is not what you experience in life or somebody else experience in life. So you can always, there's always a plethora of experiences and things, you know, like it might be somebody who, you know, has traveled all over the world and has seen things, you know, or somebody, you know, using traveled experience, you know, maybe they just like to go to Disney World every year, but still there's things that you experience even in that, even though it's like, that's, you know, a lot of people go to Disney World, you know, there's still unique experiences that you have there. You know, you ran into somebody at the pool in the evening and had a conversation or something, you know, there's always something, you know, you just kind of tap into that and show, and that's really anybody's differentiator, I think, you know, you know,
one really good example of that is real estate agents. And really this goes across the board. I mean, almost every single industry is just flooded with people that are all doing the same thing. So at that point, like you said, it's you just have to think to yourself, well, what can I do to differentiate myself? And people will go on years and years and years trying to figure this out. And, you know, I have a bunch of real estate agents that I'm personally friends with that I, you know, follow their businesses and I see what they're doing. And, you know, I try and, you know, give them a little nudge and say, hey, you know, like I see that, you know, you're on your social media and all of your marketing pages, you're, you know, posting up pictures and, you know, posting up, you know, these walkthrough videos, which is great. That's awesome. But what are you doing to separate yourself from the bunch? What are you doing to basically help yourself stand out as somebody that is the name to work with, the person that people need to go to, the person that is the authority in whatever it is that your field is? And, you know, I like I said, I try and you know, poke people and to say, hey, you might want to try and think about this, because this is what's going to set your business apart and what's going to help you grow. And, you know, people, they're like, I'll figure out eventually this, that, and third. I'm like, all right. And then I eventually worked with this one real estate agent, Luna G. She actually owns a YouTube channel, and she's done a fantastic job of infusing who she is as a person into her business. We actually sat down and did a whole interview video, basically highlighting her business, but we focused more on what she's done outside of the business that basically sets her apart and tells people who she is as a person, and use that to help her business. She was a Chinese national. She came to the US with pretty much without a dime to her name. She came to the country, started working different jobs, got involved with real estate. She started working with Keller Williams, and she started to build a pretty nice empire, basically just off of her personality and who she is as a person. She became a fitness coach as well, and she started her own YouTube channel that basically was geared towards people that were either just getting started in real estate as a real estate agent, or people that were looking to buy or sell. And she was basically giving them tips to help them out with that whole process. And people see that, and not only do they see that who she is as a person, and get to basically watch her entire journey from when she got here to where she is now, but in addition to that, she's giving these potential clients value, free value, without even, you know, charging them for this. Like it's all on YouTube, so it's all free. And people see that and they appreciate that. They appreciate, you know, basically inviting potential clients into her life, in essence, and giving value. And because of that, people want to do business with her. And she's shown that time and time and time again, that it's helped her to be very, very successful. And I just want to try and, you know, highlight the possibilities of doing that and how video basically plays into that perfectly. You know, that's a perfect example of the power of what's possible with that.
Yeah. No, I've found that, like, you know, like a strong suit that I have is some of the more technical stuff that I don't think the general public necessarily will care about. It's like one of those things where it's like they don't even notice it. Like clients might not even notice some of the stuff I'm doing because it's just done correctly or whatever, and there's no issues, right? You know,
Right.
so I have put out, you know, like the software that I use. I help. I've taught seminars on it. You know, it's just, you know, I've traveled a little bit to teach those seminars. You know, I run a mastermind right now with a couple other architects. And it's not something that the general public might necessarily go, but people in my industry would, you know, find it valuable. So I've put like little training, like tips and tricks type videos up, like on my YouTube channel. I get views. I have a post that I did, like a blog post years ago that I did, that it still gets hits today, like multiple hits around the world, you know. But again, there's nothing, you know, personal about it. It's very cut and dry. I'm like, this is how you create, like this is how you create hundreds of drawing sheets in your file in a very quick, like in 5 minutes, you know.
Right.
You know, but it doesn't really like necessarily lead to any business. It brings traffic to my website, you know, and it's something that's free, that's out there. Who knows? Maybe if I look back, maybe somebody did call me and saw something for you know, that were like, this guy can help us out, you know. But on the other end, like, you know, here we are recording a podcast. I love to give a great example, you know, and obviously I call it Rich the Architect, so I want to have a little bit of a personal side. And you know, I'm interviewing you, but I'm still talking, you know, as well. But I've had a job, and I've probably said it on a previous episodes with other guests, where, you know, somebody I know who's local saw me post about my podcast, started the conversation by telling me, he's like, hey, I see you're making these posts about your podcast. He's like, I don't listen to it, but it reminded me that you were local. I got this project, you know, so it led to business that way. But, you know, but also this platform is leading me, you know, letting me have conversations with you and other, you know, other people, getting to know you better. You're getting to know me better, you know. So it's like, I think that person, you know, on a personal level, I really think, you know, we're talking a little business here, but, you know, and we've had conversations, prior to this, but but yeah, which I think led to being, hey, why don't you come on, you know? but it's like, getting to know each other on a personal level. So, you know, hopefully, you know, if you have somebody or you personally have something down the road, you're like, hey, I know that Rich the Architect guy, you know, and I'm gonna be like, hey, I know Brandon, you can help me with, you know, the videos or the photos and you know, things like that. So, you know, it's very powerful. And it's like, I've learned, you know, I've been in business for 11 years. And when I first started, I thought, I'm like, well, I'm an architect, so I'm just going to that's all I'm going to talk about. And, you know, some of the reasons why I said I purposely called this Rich the Architect was I was finding that people only knew me as Rich the Architect. Like, knew me as the architect or an architect, but didn't know anything about Rich.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, I just wanted to, you know, I know what you're saying here in terms of like, as I've been more and more in business, it's more about that personal side, you know.
Right.
Like, I personally, even like, if I want to, like, I'm still just a one person outfit. I think, you know, it sounds like you may work with some people here and there, but it sounds like you're a one person outfit as well. But if I ever want to grow out of that, like, I feel like, you know, I really would then almost be putting not all my chips into more of the personal side, but, you know, in order to properly do the business development, you know, I could see it, you know, in like the one group that we're you know, the legacy club that we're in, you know, it's more about, you know, and I think that's how we kind of got into, you came on one of the calls, I believe.
Yeah.
And then we started talking, but, you know, it's there. It's like, there's not a lot of talk about, you know, this person who does whatever they do. It's more about, you know, what they are doing I mean, you know, obviously right now with COVID and people being home, you know, it's like, hey, you know, what are you making for dinner tonight and things like that. But those conversations, but those conversations tend to be more toward on the personal side. They're not, they're not like dry conversation about, hey, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? It's more about, who are you? Who are you? So yeah, it's definitely very, very powerful and, helpful in terms of, business development, things like that. So you're saying like you've been helping with, so is most of the work more on the video end these days for you, or?
Definitely. I get asked to do a wedding here and there every now and again. I actually just was contacted last week by this couple whose wedding is on the 20th of this month, and they're, I was about to say pharmacist. I'm sorry. I used to work in pharmacy, so for whatever reason, I keep saying pharmacy. Their photographer actually contacted them back and said, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to do your wedding. I have sick family members, and with COVID, I really don't want to take that risk." And so they reached out to me, and more than likely, I'm probably going to end up shooting their wedding, just because, again, I've done it for years. I know how important that day is in a lot of people's lives. In most cases, if not all cases, it's the most important day in people's lives. So it definitely does need to be captured. So, I'm going to be, shooting their wedding. But I do, as far as like the photo side of things, I do still do the one-off wedding every now and again. I do a lot of maternity shoots. I do a lot of lifestyle sessions and that sort of thing. I want to try and maybe branch off with that side of the business as well, and maybe get into some more editorial work to, possibly get into print, that sort of thing. But the main focus of my business for the last 3 years and going forward is going to be with video, specifically working with business owners and entrepreneurs and just helping them get to the next level, and to keep working with them pretty much as almost an extension of their marketing department, if you will. That's a really big thing of what I do. Once I'm done, producing their content, I work with them on a continuing basis. I will do either bi-weekly or monthly phone calls just as a follow-up to see, how things are working with them as far as their video is concerned. We'll go over analytics if we need to go over analytics. And also just to check up on them and see how they're doing, especially with COVID going on right now. I've been checking in with a lot of my acquaintances and friends that are also business owners just to see how they're doing and how they're holding up. Here in Old City, we've had a whole bunch of businesses close down and, get boarded up and that sort of thing. And it as a business owner myself, it sucks to see that. And it really does, affect me because, I've been in situations, especially when I first started out, where I didn't know if I was going to be able to, make ends meet or where my next paycheck was going to come from. So, I always feel that it's kind of a necessity for me to, check up on my business owners that are friends and acquaintances and make sure that they're okay. And if there's anything that I can do to help, I'm always, willing to do that. So,
no. And it's like, and you were saying like at this time, it's like, it's really tough with, there's some businesses that are fine in like, a situation with the COVID stuff, and then there's other businesses where it's just totally devastating, where you can't do anything. I mean, you were mentioning, I was going to ask you about this, but you were mentioning about like salsa dancing, and, we've had conversation, that my wife has a ballet school. It's right. Like that, like right now, those types of businesses or gyms and, fitness facilities, things like that. I mean, they're just, you just can't be open.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, how do you deal with that, and stay in business?
Like, funnily enough, as far as the the actual physical locations for a lot of these studios that I know of and have worked with, the studios are closed, but a lot of the instructors and studio owners, they've actually taken their lessons online and, started doing Zoom calls and basically teaching lessons. And from that, from that platform, they've gone to Facebook Live, Instagram Live, and they've pretty much leveraged the audience that they were able to create on their platforms already, and basically move them over to Zoom, move them over to Facebook Live, Instagram Live, and, you know, basically hold these classes. And I've actually spoken with not only people in the dance community, but also, you know, just businesses in general. And we've had, you know, consult calls to figure out, you know, what's the best way to go about doing this? How can I make sure that my live streams are, both, that the audio is good, because audio has to be good. They have to be, you know, they have to be able to be heard. The sound has to be, you know, legible. They want to make sure that they have the best quality. They want to know what kind of cameras that they should use, what frame rates they should use, and that sort of thing. How can I basically create almost a virtual online studio or a virtual online course or something along those lines? So I've been consulting a lot of people on that sort of thing. So yes, it is getting to a point where some businesses, quite a few businesses, have actually been, you know, thoroughly devastated by this. But for the ones that aren't, like, you know, restaurants or you know, businesses that can take what they do, whether it's a product or a service, online, they figured out how to basically transform their business and go to a more online platform. And for some, quite a few businesses, it's actually worked really, really well. So
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a matter of, you know, moving with the times. You know, you're probably around, you know, my age, or how old are you, Rich? Actually, if you don't mind me asking.
45.
Okay. Oh, 45. Okay. So
yeah.
So you probably remember, you know, Blockbuster and you know, all the, like, the video stores and everything.
I remember Blockbuster opening up, the first Blockbuster in my store. I think I was in junior high or high school. Yeah. It was like a big deal.
Yeah, it was just a big deal. Like, I remember, like, you know, Friday nights, I would, like, beg my dad to take me to Blockbuster so we can rent, you know, new video games for the Sega Genesis and that sort of thing, you know. But, you know, after a while, when things started to go to a more online platform, you know, these certain businesses, they got so stuck in the old way of doing things that they ended up shuttering. You know, same thing happened with them. Same thing happened with, you know, music stores, you know, FYE and Sam Goody and that sort of thing. Like, once companies started moving towards a more streaming format, and once that started to be consumed more than, you know, actual physical media, you know, unfortunately, these companies, they didn't change their business models, and we saw what happened, you know. So I see the devastation, but I also want to try and help people figure out how to move to a more online platform, so that way their business can still thrive. You know? And I think in 2020, that's one of the main ways that I personally can help, but a lot of other people can help others as well, you know. So I always try and, you know, spread that gospel. You know, don't get stuck in the old ways, because there isn't a very good chance that you may lose everything in doing so.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I have to, like, I'll go back to my wife as an example with the ballet school, and I really have to commend her for what she did. Was she just, you know, once it was like, home, okay, we can't have it, but she's like, well, how can I adjust? It's always about, like, how can you adjust and keep things moving forward. So, you know, she jumped in, you know, immediately, like a lot of us did. You know, she jumped onto Zoom, figured out how she could do Zoom classes for her existing customer base, right? You know, because she buys, you know, it's primarily kids, so they kind of, I think, not only if they paying you know what, they do pay by month. But so I think what she ended up doing was adjusting the price. So she's like, okay, you're not here in the studio, so you're not going to charge, you know, maybe she charged like 50% of what she had before, you know, because it's going to be a little bit different, but we're still going to offer the classes. You know, she's still paying her instructors, you know, the same. I don't know if she was paying them the same fee or not. You know, I'm assuming she probably paid them, you know, whatever she pays them per class or however she pays them. So that was still being paid, you know, so everybody was still making their money, you know, and, you know, still having, you know, the students, you know, still, it's almost like a retention thing, right? You know, keep the students still having classes and whatnot. And then as she got that kind of established and had a kind of a rhythm with it, she actually started opening up virtual Zoom classes for new students, and she got new students. in this time, from it. And now even just last weekend with, some of these restrictions kind of being lightened. So she was like, oh, wait, you can have like outdoor activities here and there. So she did a series of bar classes outside in our parking lot.
That's
awesome. We have one of her instructors has what is it called? She has it's not called the Firehouse. It's over in like Fishtown or in Kensington. It's like an art building.
It's not the Painted Bride, because
not Painted Bride. That's Old City. It's up on off of like 2nd Street or Front Street. Oh, why can't I remember it off the top of my head? Maybe it'll come to me. But yeah, she has like an old factory building, and there's, she does like, she has a modern dance group. Boy, wow. I've known Laura for forever, like 15 years probably. I should know her stinking, her dance group. But she's a modern dance group up there, and so it's based there. Iron Factory, I think is what it's called.
Oh, yeah, I do know that. Okay, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so she has the Iron Factory, and they we had some like old like rolls of Marley, the Marley dance vinyl or whatever. She had rolls of it up there, which I think we had at one point, but then we gave to her because we didn't have anywhere to store it. So she took it. So last week she went out, picked up the rolls of Marley, and then we put the Marley out in the parking lot. We have a number of bars we put out there, and she had a number of bar classes for her different age groups on, I think it was on Sunday. Most of, she had maybe like, on average 6 kids in each class. I think she had 3 classes. And we actually learned a new technique of how we can relax Marley now. You put it out in the sun and it flattens out pretty quickly. Yeah. Because we had it all out on our dance floor, and it was all like, from the rolls, it was just like we didn't have it in like a core or anything. So it was kind of like folded. So there was like a little fold, little fold crease or whatever. And it just like after a couple of days, it still was there. But we took it outside, and it was like within like 10 minutes of being out in the sun, it was like completely flat. So you're like, perfect. So, awesome. But yeah. So she did that. And actually a lot of her students or the parents are like, we'll do it again. Whenever you want to do it again.
It's a new experience, a lot. I don't think I've ever heard of an outdoor bar class. So that's definitely something that she could and should capitalize on, because that unique experiences, that's one of the, with the millennials, because, everybody loves talking about millennials, but, they're all about, new experiences and new ways of doing things. And that's a perfect example right there. I mean, she should definitely market that. Yeah. So you after this, you definitely need to talk to her about that.
Yeah. Well, she took pictures of it, put it up on her, Facebook page, kind of your basic, marketing stuff there. But definitely as an alternative here. I have a feeling like once everything is back open, she's just like, the work it takes to do an outdoor bar class would be much simpler to be like, hey, we have 2 dance studios here with bars. Like it's already set up, because it did take a while for us to set everything up. And then, we had different things with, the masks and hand sanitizer and different things like that. Had to wipe down everything between, and then obviously just like having one of our instructors actually come out as well, to be available to teach and everything like that, so, it's definitely, again, it's like adjusting and, with the times and different things like that. So, so with the, I mean, like when we're, with your, mentioning with the salsa dancing and stuff like that, like what has your, I guess, like as you were just talking about House of Aperture, how about on the dancing side? Like what's been your experience or how you've gotten to do that and everything like that?
So it's weird because basically how I started is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's weird because my junior and senior prom dates are probably to this day still angry at me because I did not dance with them during my junior and senior prom. Like dancing before recently is something that I just, for whatever reason, avoided like the plague for most of my life. And I'll never forget, this was basically not too long after I graduated from college. One of my high school buddies, who was a DJ at the time, reached out and said, "Hey, I'm DJing at this local club. You know, you should, if you have time, you should come out and support." I'm like, "Yeah, of course. I'm always going to, support friends that are business owners and entrepreneurs and, doing things to make money." So I definitely came out. And, before the night started, we're up on the roof deck of this club, and we're all sitting around. It's me, my DJ friend, and a whole bunch of his other friends. We're all like sitting around the fire pit, having drinks, talking. And we start talking about, what everybody's passionate about. And everybody's going around the group saying what they do. It was my friend who was a DJ, it was a musician, fashion designer, another photographer, and it was a few other people that were doing, really amazing things. And then they get to me, and at the time, I had just gotten, just graduated from college. So I was, in the workforce, and I was just going full steam with that. I was working at one of the local hospitals at the time. So that's pretty much where all my focus was. So they get to me and they say, "So, what do you do?" And I started to tell them, I work at one of the local hospitals, and, started going to that. And the woman that was right next to me, she just stops me and just puts her hand on my thigh. And she's like, and she looks me dead in the eye and says, No. What are you passionate about?" And I really had to think about it for a second, because I couldn't answer. Like at the time, like I said, I stepped back from photography to concentrate on, my job and everything. So I really didn't have anything that was giving me purpose aside from my job. And that night, I literally went home and just looked at the ceiling like, there has to be something more than just coming home, going to work, coming home, going to work, and just, being in the 9-to-5 grind. There has to be something more than this. Yeah. And so my DJ friend, he invites me back out the next day, or the next week, I'm sorry. And the night starts, and, everybody's dancing on the floor. I'm over at the bar because that's what you do when you do not dance. And I'm talking to the bartender, and somehow or another we started talking about Dance with the Stars, which was, at that time it was huge. Everybody, all of America was watching this. And I was like, you know what? I would not mind learning how to dance one of these days. I literally have just avoided it like the plague all my life. My stepmom, she's Puerto Rican, and she always like makes fun of me. She's like, I come out to the the family events, and everybody's dancing and having fun, and I'm on the wall with a Corona. Yeah. And so I'm telling her this, and she looks at me with this just crazy look, and I'm like, what did I say? And she says, we have a Latin night here every Monday, right? I said, no, who goes out to a club on Mondays? Like, who does that, So she says, come on out tomorrow, because this was a Sunday that this was happening. So she says, come on out tomorrow. The lesson's free. There's no cover, and try it out, see if you like it. Yeah. So I came out, and between the music, the people that just basically welcomed me from the moment I walked in the door, the whole atmosphere. I mean, it was amazing. I from the second I walked in and saw just all of this going on, I was hooked like that. Yeah. And the one thing that I learned that is kind of special about Philly compared to a lot of other cities is that Philly has a Latin night every single day of the week, if not multiple ones on the same day. So for 2 months straight, I would go to work, come home, and go out and learn how to dance. Yep. And this went on for about 2 months straight. Yeah. And I literally was addicted. And it was one of those like good addictions where, you're getting exercise, you're meeting new people, you're being social. And from there, I got involved with some of the local studios. I started taking like official classes, not just like, the club lesson that you take when you've had a couple in you and whatnot. And what's going on. I started taking like actual official lessons. And from there, I joined performance teams. and I started, taking my training further. And eventually I got into some of these studios, semi-pro and pro teams. I've traveled to congresses up and down the Eastern Seaboard. I've gotten to represent Philly in regional competitions. It's been a long journey. It's been a crazy ride. And again, like I said, when I started this journey in dance, me capturing the journey as I went along basically led to me opening up my business. So, I a lot to dance.
Yeah. No, that's well, it's funny when you were saying, oh, well, I was going on a Monday night to a Latin thing, and you're like, kind of like, yeah, you have the questions in your mind or whatever, like, who the heck's going to be there? I mean, I left, my wife and I moved out of Philly in 2004 when she was pregnant with our oldest. We moved into a house in Jersey, kind of did the, move to the suburbs type thing once we had kids. But, previous to that, even back then, like I played music. I played drums. I beatboxed for bands and stuff like that. And we used to have we actually used to have a jam session every Monday night at, is it the Khyber? Wait, is Khyber on South Street or in Old City? What's the place? On 2nd Street. The one.
I know it's really close to where I am. I forget where though. I would say it may have been on South Street. Don't quote me on that. I think it was.
Yeah, but I think it was the Khyber. Well, it was on 2nd Street in Old City, right by across the street from the big Irish restaurant club.
Okay.
Man, it's been a while for me. I'm like, man, I can't even remember. It's been so long. But anyway, we used to have a jam session there every Monday night, and it wouldn't be packed, but it was always good people that were there, and had some good times. And I probably should have been not being there on a Monday night because I had to work in the morning, the next day usually. But still, it was there was, again, it was good people. But even back then, when it came to, and if Latin night wasn't my thing, I wasn't going to those. But yeah, when you were saying it was every night, it was even back then. It was still like that. I knew of places that had it, from throughout the week. So I was like, oh yeah, it's been like that for a long time.
Yeah, people, when you think about really passionate people, especially that are involved in the arts and things that of that nature, their minds immediately go to New York, which is fine. It's New York, obviously that's gonna be the first in the conversation. But with Philly has an extremely vibrant art scene and a following that is very, very, very passionate. And I don't think a lot of people realize just how deep that community goes and how passionate they are, and I will put our community against any community, and that might be just the Philadelphian in me, and the competitive nature that we have, especially with our sports. If you're a sports fan and you're then you know about passion, right? So I don't know if that's what's making me talk like that, but I will put what we're able to put out as far as a passionate community against any city, anytime. It's just
No, I agree. And I could tell you okay, so this is 20 years ago or 15, 20 years ago. So when I would go to clubs and stuff like that, it was back when the Roots were still, they were established, but they were growing.
Yeah.
I remember being at a club in Old City where they were doing the record release party for Philadelphia Half-Life.
Classic record.
It was one of the most incredible shows in a smaller club. And at the time they had Rozelle, when I'm talking about beatboxing, they had Rozelle, was in there.
Yeah.
This was the day I got introduced to Scratch. I didn't know who he was. I actually had friends who knew him and did music with him too, but they were Rozelle's up on the stage, and he goes, "Somebody here wants to battle me, I hear." And Scratch just comes out of the crowd. I still remember he had overalls on or something. He had for some reason I still remember him getting up on stage, putting. What's that?
that tells you how long ago it was, but we were so
Yeah.
aware.
Yeah, so he had like one strap was down under his arm, but when he came up on stage, it was business time, and he put it back up on his shoulder. I'm like, who's this guy? And then they battled, and it was like incredible, you know. But like there would be other times, like I was mentioning the jam session we had, like Hubbard, who used to play bass, you know, in the earlier days. He just showed up at one of our jam sessions one day and played like bass for like 3 or 4 songs. And we're like, this is awesome, you know. So that would happen all the time. Like you would have different people, and I'm sure, like if I went back, there was probably, you know, I don't like, probably not Meek Mill, but you know, who is it, like Beanie Seagal or somebody like that, who was just like up and coming and just was like there, like, well, I actually, as a personal experience, I was doing an open mic with a buddy of mine who rhymed at it's still around Last Drop Coffee Shop. It's like at the corner of 13th and Pine.
Okay.
What is it? I almost said Fat Joe's. It's not Fat Joe's. It's a really trashy bar, but it has like a reputation. It's on the same corner on 13th and Pine. They have a mural of like Mike Schmidt and stuff. Oh, why can't see? That's the thing. It's been a while for me. Like I can't believe I can't remember it. But my wife used to, when we first started dating, she lived at 15th and Pine, so it was kind of like our area. This was before, yeah. And this was like before University of Arts like started expanding. Like the Symphony House condo wasn't there yet. Like maybe the Starbucks that was on the corner on Broad Street just got built. But other than that, it was still kind of like, you know, old school or whatever you want to call it. But we were doing an open mic we were doing a weekly open mic with coincidentally my wife's ex-boyfriend, who was also a DJ. Kind of how we kind of met in a way. He was doing a weekly open mic in the basement of the coffee shop. So we would go every week, and he played, and actually how I met him was he was teaching African drum classes at a store in South Street. So I took one of his classes, and I think it was the first night was his then girlfriend came in, and that ends up being my wife. You know, like, so I met her like during my first class, you know, yeah, so we would sometimes on those mics, a bunch of us who played African drums, we would all play together, like, you know, just as a starter or something like that, or he DJ and stuff. So sometimes it was that. So the one night, you know, my buddy who rhymed, I was like, oh, well, why don't we just get up? And we used to just doing the jam stuff. And he's like, just drop a beat and I'll rhyme. I was like, all right, cool. So we're doing this. And then after like we did like one of them, a guy was just like, oh yeah, I beatbox too. Do you mind if I come up with you? I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah, the more the merrier. We're just kind of, you know, it's not like it's our show or anything like that. Yeah. So he comes up and he was like incredible. I have the tape to this day of this still. It was just, I mean, my buddy and I, I was like, yeah, I beatbox. I don't beatbox like that. You know, like,
got that.
He was doing like, well, and at the time, you know, like jungle music was just like kind of coming up. He was doing like a jungle beat that was just like, I almost like stopped while we were like all jamming. I was like, this is really awesome. I'm not really contributing anything here. You know, I'll just fade off. But yeah, he ends up, it was Music Soul Child.
What? That's so sick.
Yeah. So
I'm a huge fan of music. I still, to this day, I'm a huge music fan, man.
Yeah. So I got to know him a little bit, and this is right when this is right around the time he's making his first album. And you know, so he may have came back, we may have jammed a little bit here or there. He worked at a pizza shop on South Street somewhere. I remember the last time I really had a conversation with him was he was on a break and he was stressing out about his album coming out, you know, and of course, you know, he's an artist. So he's stressed. He wants to make sure it's good and all this different stuff like that. And I was like, almost like, oh, you know, hope you'll be all right. Like he was just like really down at that point. And then like a month later, his album comes out. I'm like, holy shit, I'm like, that's the same guy? You know? And then, you know, I've only run into him one other time, but it was like a few years later, like at a deli. And I tried to like say hello. Hey, what's going on? He didn't remember who I was at that point. And I was just kind of like, well, he's in a whole different world now. Yeah. You know, and I don't kind of fault him for any of that, but you know, yeah, it was like those type, you know, that scene and the people you run into, and then years later, you know, like, yeah, I'm 20 years later and I'm seeing all these people have all this kind of success. I was like, shoulder to shoulder with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, you see all these people who are coming out, whether it's musicians or, Kevin Hart or, different comedians or different artists like that. But, different people there's always people coming out from Philly,
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, definitely can compete with, any other city in my mind too. I totally agree.
And
so
that's so awesome. You're able to like see a lot of these artists just, from where they springboarded their careers. That's really cool.
Yeah. So it's no, it's I do miss some of that. Sometimes now being in South Jersey, it's just like there's nothing. Well, and I got kids and things like that, so it kind of moves away. But so you kind of adjust. I always thinking that someday maybe I'll get like turntables or something, like in terms when you're talking about passion. It's funny because it's like I think a little bit. We were in a conversation last night on a different call. We're like, oh, what hobbies are. I was talking about board games, and I'm like, well, board games. Now that I think about it, that's more of an escape. It's not necessarily like a passion. Yeah, I enjoy playing board games or whatever, but the passion and what you're saying with the salsa dancing and stuff like that, it's like it's got to be the music and stuff like that for me personally is like where I could get back into at some point, but same time I have and it is like with my kids are in the music, so my son, my oldest is learning drums.
That's awesome.
Pretty good. He picked up a bass recently, and I'm just like, he was playing James Brown the other night.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. He was down there. He has a weekly lesson, and his instructor is having him play like bass for like James Brown songs. Because I'm just like, really, And he actually did my wife's birthday was last month, and for we got a cake and stuff, and then he came up with the bass, and he was playing like different things, for us. It was just a bass, and he's like, "What's this?" And it was like the SpongeBob theme and things like that.
Looking at him like, wait a minute, where did this come from?
Yeah. So I mean, in some ways, it's really neat to also have your my own kids like learning and seeing them grow. So you kind of start not living through them, but seeing them succeed. So yeah, and he plays in like there's like it's called Rock University. It's with a music place. The place where he does the lessons. They also have the Rock University, and it's just that's the other thing. It's just like the kids and some of the kids that are coming through that program. I'm just like, I remember, the one kid was playing like what is it? What's that song? Satch Boogie. It's like more of like like maybe from the 70s. Who's the guitar? Joe Santorini, something like that. But I mean, it's just an incredible like guitar song. And this like 10-year-old comes out and just kills it. Like, I was just like,
looking at it like, wait, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah. I was like, at 10 years old. Yeah, I think at that age, I remember like me playing drums growing up. I was given an opportunity for like my elementary school's talent show to make my own song, and it was me like playing like a snare drum going, like that was it. This kid's like, I'm like, are you kidding me?
It's like, okay, got that. I'll give you okay.
Yeah. So, but that that's what makes like life great. Like we're saying like with passions with dancing or music, it's just like that just adds. That's just what makes life worth living. I think.
Right.
Yeah. So, well, I think we've been about an hour in here. That. Yeah, no, I was like, I look over, I'm like, oh yeah, it's afternoon o'clock. It's afternoon now, so but yeah, no, so this has been great. But if there anything you just kind of want to like, whether it's how people can get in contact with you or anything you want to just kind of like close with.
Yeah. What can I do? So, again, you can follow me on Instagram, House of Aperture. I'm on Instagram. Yeah, I just said Instagram. I also have a YouTube channel. It's under, if you search Dancers That Shoot, that's my YouTube channel. And basically what that is going to be is basically behind the scenes content of me going on video shoots, on photo shoots, as well as with me training, interviewing different photographers, interviewing different instructors and competitors and that sort of thing. It's a combination of basically the two worlds that I'm passionate about, and you know, I try and bring both of those passions to a larger audience. So if you want to follow me there, Dancers That Shoot on YouTube and on Instagram, you can follow me there. And yeah, that's pretty much yeah, that's pretty much.
Okay, you say there was a Dancers at Shoot or Dancer at Shoot?
Dancers That Shoot.
Oh, That Shoot. Okay.
Yeah.
THAT. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Okay, cool. Well, Brandon, again, I really appreciate you coming on and having a conversation again.
Whatever long cover.
Yeah, and hopefully someday soon you and I can have a conversation in person. You know, because
Oh yeah, definitely.
I've realized we've not had that yet.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So no, yeah. Again, appreciate you coming on, and for everybody else, you know, for Brandon here and for Rich here, we're signing off. And until next time, I'll see you.
See you later.